I'd like to tell you about this wonderful little book that I've been reading, The 7 Principles for Making Marriage Work by John M. Gottman and Nan Silver. John Gottman is a PhD at the University of Washington, and he's also the founder of the Gottman Institute, which offers seminars and therapy for couples and also does training for counseling professionals in using his methods of marriage and relationship counseling to help people. He's been in this field for years and years. He's done 42 years of longitudinal studies tracking 700 couples from diverse populations, differing socioeconomic status, same-sex couples, new partners, and partners who have been together for many years, partners at turning points in relationships, partners dealing with a new baby or a death in the family. So lots of information gathered over a long period of time, and he's followed these couples over the years, so there's a large body of information on how his marriage therapy techniques have fared in these people's lives. His work is done mostly through interviews, personal interviews with couples where they're hooked up to monitors of their heart rate, blood velocity, sweat output, respiration, and immune function, which is cool and scientific. And he will then replay the videos of the conversations with the couples, and they'll talk to him about what they were thinking and feeling during the times when there were spikes in the monitors, which is a great way to understand where somebody is feeling stress or emotion in a relationship. So those follow-up interviews happen right after, and they also happen yearly. So he checks in with those couples, keeping track of how their marriage is going, how their relationship is going over the years. Another interesting thing his institute does is they've got a place called the Love Lab in Seattle, and that is a little apartment set up nice and cozy where couples volunteer to spend a weekend, and they're videotaped in all of the public areas of the apartment. They would obviously not have cameras in the bathroom or the bedroom, but he and his team are then able to observe the interactions and the dynamics that happen between those couples in just sort of a more regular daily way, and that's provided a lot of information towards understanding what it is that makes couples successful in their marriage. And he uses all of this information that he's gathered through all of these studies as a basis for these seven principles for making a marriage work. And what I like about it is it's scientifically based. I mean, it's been over years and years of observing and scientifically observing couples and what has and hasn't worked for them. So this book would be used maybe as an introduction for couples to his work. It's a workbook. In addition to providing the information about his background and the background of the creation of the 7 principles, it's set up so that each principle has its own chapter. It's presented. Let's see, we can find one. So principle 5, for example, is solve your solvable problems. And we would begin by reading, what does that mean? What does it mean to solve your solvable problems? And then each chapter offers a questionnaire. So couples would work through the book together. Ideally, I could imagine, and what I'm doing with my own husband is we're reading it aloud, and we're doing the questionnaires together. Then there are exercises. So you could spend a week or two on each chapter, and all of these are for the purpose of connecting with each other. John Gottman's premise is that what makes a marriage work is a deep friendship and respect for one another. And part of why his therapy is different is there of course is a focus on communication and learning how to disagree, but that's not the main focus. The main focus is on developing that deep friendship and that respect so that the relationship can be built on that strong foundation. He talks about the 7 principles. He pictures, what does he call it? A marriage, a relationship house. Let me see. He would imagine the relationship as a sound relationship house. So there's the picture of the roof, and each one of his 7 principles being a level, a floor in that house, so that couples would build the house together, and the trust that they have for each other becomes the walls. The trust and commitment that they have in their relationship becomes the walls that hold in all of these principles that are the basis of a good relationship. I'd like to just give you a quick overview of what those 7 principles are, and I'm gonna read them right off of my computer screen. So the first principle: enhance your love maps. This is about becoming familiar with each other's world. A love map is that sort of mental picture that you have of your partner. What do you know about them? Are you involved in their daily lives? Do you know what their hopes and dreams are? Do you know where they're having trouble in their life and where they're finding joy? The second principle is to nurture your fondness and your admiration. And the way Gottman puts this is, nurturing fondness and admiration is an antidote to contempt. When contempt enters a marriage, it can be very hard for people to get out of that negative cycle. Principle 3, turn toward each other instead of away. This is about engaging with each other. It's a physical turning toward one another. So your partner says, "Oh, look, there's a bird in the yard," and rather than you take a moment to look at them, to look out the window and say, "Oh, it's a robin." Just that it's those tiny day-to-day things where you're turning toward one another repeatedly, connecting and building mutual trust. Principle 4, let your partner influence you. It's about being open to compromise, perhaps, but about respecting and honoring your partner's feelings and their opinions. Principle 5 is solve your solvable problems. Gottman recognizes that in long-term relationships there will be those problems that aren't solvable, that you can't always reconcile giant life goals. There may be things that you never agree on, but there are solvable problems, and those should be addressed. And there's 5 steps to solving your solvable problems. The first is soften your startup. Your startup is when you first start that conversation. You want to come in softly and not with a personal attack. You're going to learn to make and receive repair attempts. Repair attempts are a really good sign that a relationship is salvageable. A repair attempt, if a partner offers a repair attempt, you might be in the heat of an argument and one person offers something that will diffuse the tension. It might be something silly, it might be an inside joke, it might be a smile, and that's a repair attempt. And if the other partner is interested in having a positive outcome from that discussion, they're going to accept the repair attempt. They're going to hear it and they're going to respond. In a relationship that's in trouble, repair attempts may or may not be offered, and if they are offered, they may or may not be addressed, received. Third step in solving solvable problems is to soothe yourself and each other. That's important. And to compromise, of course. And after all of this has been done, this discussion is done, you're going to process with each other your grievances so that there isn't lingering upset. Going back to the principles, the sixth principle is to overcome gridlock. And this is when you do have those things that seem unsolvable, how do you address it? And the recommendation is to learn to acknowledge and to discuss the issue without hurting each other. And there's some really great exercises in here in this chapter about uncovering hidden dreams and being able to tease those out in the method of your partner's communication, being able to hear below what they're saying, to what's their hidden desire for their own life and what are they hoping for, and respecting that in each other. The seventh principle is to create shared meaning. And you can do all of the 6 principles, the first 6, and still feel that you are two people living parallel lives happily. The 7th is about creating, it's kind of like the magic ingredient. It's where you're creating a microculture in your climate that makes you, the two of you, special in each other's world, separate from the rest of the world. This is you would bring in your own personal customs and myths of your relationship and rituals, things that bring connection between you. I love that one. So I thought this was an excellent book, and I would definitely recommend it. I want to recommend this to every couple that I know. My husband and I will be working through, the exercises and the questionnaires probably for a year, but I think it's really worth it. One of the statistics that astounded me the most about Gottman's work, he recommends not just reading the book, but of course attending a workshop at their institute or with a trained counselor and follow-up sessions over a year. He's saying, here's some statistics. He recommends interested couples attend a workshop offered by the Gottman Institute and followed by at least 9 therapy sessions over the following year. And he and his team found that at the beginning of their workshops, 27% of attending couples were at high risk for divorce. But at the 12-month follow-up after the workshop and the 9 sessions, that proportion had dropped to 4%, which is a huge drop. The relapse rate for Gottman's workshop attendees at the 12-month follow-up was 20%, which is significantly lower than the national relapse rate of traditional standard behavioral marital therapy. Their relapse rate is 30 to 50%. So those numbers to me, that spoke to the efficacy of this kind of treatment. And I'm interested in pursuing for myself as a counselor, learning more about this, maybe attending a workshop at the Institute, because I think it's really interesting. I would definitely recommend this book to you and to your clients who might be wanting to work on their relationship. Thanks for listening.